A lot of people wonder why I changed from the way I was, just like it just showed, faded in and out. And that's what a man's life is like. But why I turned from churchianity. And churchianity, I was born a Catholic. But up through my upbringing, I was sent to the church on Sundays. My mom was a Catholic, born a Catholic. My dad was an atheist. And they always sent me to the Catholic church every Sunday. And my uncle was a holy roller. My Uncle Junior. Oh, I loved him dearly. And he would come and pick me up, which a lot of uncles should do with their nephews, okay? And not so much their nieces, because of what the world thinks of today. I've been brought under CPS, Child Protective Service investigations many times. But I was brought up in a family that you hugged, you kissed, the children was bounced on your knee, for some reason, and I didn't know at the time, but I was to not be kissing all over my children. I give them a hug, but, when they started growing boobies, I gave them, the further away hug. And when they learned to walk, I no longer kept them on my knee. I'd put them by my side. But CPS investigations after investigation after investigation was that I was supposedly having sexual relations with my children. Many of them was that I wasn't feeding my children, but when they came over and they investigated, they always said I had more food in my house available than any place they've ever been. And of course, none of the sexual things was there because I keep my Father's laws and His commandments. See, and that's what separates me from churchianity. And I'm trying to keep this short as I can, but salvation. People say, oh, I'm born again, I'm saved. Yes, you're saved for the fire, maybe. Think about it. Where is the scripture that it talks about being saved? It is saved for the fire. But our King came. He was baptized, and Al-Yahnai, or John the Immerser, said, our King comes to baptize with water and with fire. Tests, trials, tribulation. If your works survive, so shall you. If your works perish, you can still make it. I mean, I've had my places burned down. I was recently put in jail, solitary confinement for 44 days. The first 7, I had nothing to drink because I ain't drinking no toilet water. I'm sorry. Same tap comes out the toilet. I'm not drinking it, and I'm not drinking city water, and they knew it. So I went without water for 7 days. Science says you can't survive past 3. Well, guess what I did? And for 44-day total time period in solitary confinement from August 25th until October 8th of 2016, they gave me no food I could eat. And I still survived. But why is this? I mean, I prayed and I begged, oh, please don't let me go 40 days. I'm not Elijah. I'm not Moshe. I'm not you, my king. And you know what he told me? These things you have done, you will do in greater. And I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, no. No way. No way. I do not want to starve for 2 3 years or whatever. I mean, our King fed me. He kept me alive. He gave me the waters of life, that kept me for a purpose, which I don't know yet, because, I mean, you can do a Google search on me and you'll see. This persecution's been going on for some time for the 144,000. Okay, it really has. And there's going to be a time that comes that a number that no man can count. Soon the children, okay? It says the children won't be able to count the trees that are left on this planet. The ship is about to hit the van. Yes, indeed. But the thing is, I turned from churchianity only because I came to know, and this is the whole thing about salvation. If you want salvation, this is what must be done. Search the scriptures, prove me wrong if you can. Don't just leave a hateful comment saying BS and F you and, you should learn to read or something of that sort, because I haven't read anything from the scriptures today. Well, no, I take that back. I did. I read a lot of things from the scriptures today. I even put them in videos. But I'm not reading a scripture in this video. But if you want salvation, do you? Salvation. How do you get it? Simple as this. You keep the 10 Commandments. Now, many Christian churches, not all of them, of course, but many do say you should keep the 10 Commandments. And what these lying preachers don't know, though that is true, is that the 613 laws simply define how to keep the 10 Commandments. In fact, our King, he had lawyers coming up against him and stuff, lawyers of the law coming up against him and saying, well, what are the 2 greatest laws? Or what is the greatest law? And he says, the first greatest law is to love your Father with all your heart, mind, soul, and might. He didn't quite say your DNA and your every single thought and action, but it should be put in there. And it will be. Believe you me, it will be, because everything it says to love your Father with all your heart, soul, mind, and might is the first great commandment. Now, commandment isn't found in the 10 Commandments. It was a law. And the second is like unto the first, to love your brother as yourself. Now, if you kept them 2 laws, which the scripture tries to say are commandments, and if they were commandments, you'd find them in the 10 Commandments, but you can't, because they're not there. These are laws, 2 of the 613 laws. And I don't really believe in 613 laws, because a lot of what they do is they separate these laws into positive and negative laws. And many of these laws are both positive and negative, or you'll find one law being the positive, another law being the negative. Okay, so we're down to 450 laws maybe actual. But then if you're a woman, there are certain laws apply to you that don't apply to a man. So a man has many less laws than a woman at that point. But if the woman's not a farmer and a man is, well, then the man has maybe a little more laws than the woman does. Because not everything applies. You probably got less that applies to you than to drive on the highways The laws of man. There's more laws to drive your stinking car than there is to acquire salvation. I mean, isn't that silly? Consider these house rules. Would you go to a friend's house that says you're supposed to take off your shoes at the door? Would you walk in with your boots on just the same? Tracking dog feces and cat feces from the yard out across this fella's floor? And he said his house rules was take your shoes off at the door because his house is clean. And you chose not to. Do you think you'll be invited back? Or do you think you're going to be like the fella that ends up at the wedding feast that's told to be bound hand and foot because he didn't have on the wedding garments? Well, what are them wedding garments? It's the commandments and the laws. And if they didn't keep them, out the door they go. Because why? These laws, these 10 commandments, and the laws that define how the 10 commandments are to be kept, they bring peace, well-being, financial security, everything you ever dreamed of. You can even have a wife or many. But to break the laws and commandments is the wages of sin. So you got to work for sin. That's why I stopped being of churchianity. Our King showed me some things. If you'd like to know them, please contact me. Let me know what you want to know about. If it pertains to salvation, that's great. I don't want to go through all the history of everything and everything like that, except for salvation's sake. Let the prophets do the prophecy thing. I've been in prophecy a long time, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not really going to get into it till these little critters come out and start stinging those that don't have a mark of our Father in their forehead or in their hand. And these little critters start stinging, biting, and tormenting mankind that doesn't have the mark of our Father Yahweh in their forehead. They're going to just chomp you and bite you. But it's merciful. It really is. It's merciful because when you get chomped, you'll remember this video and you'll say, oh, well, that's why Al-Yahnai Hawkins, who used to be Alan Douglas Fountain, in fact, Google me, and Al-Yahnai Hawkins, Al-Yahnai Hawkins, and you'll see the persecutions and everything I've been through. But it's all there is to it. Salvation. Except for the last part. Then, which all Christians believe in today, to begin with, is they have to believe in our King, our Messiah. Though they call him Jesus, though the letter J wasn't even invented until around 300 years ago. They call him Jesus, and I don't complain about that because that's what they have. Most of the books that Satan's had rewritten by our Father's allowance, because there's only 144,000 on the earth who understand this at this time. I hope I'm one of them. But the thing is, if you want salvation, you must trust in our King. And everyone says, oh, I believe in Jesus. Well, that's great. You believe in your Jesus. The name's only 300 years old. Our King was born somewhere around 2,000 years ago, 1900 and 70 years ago, whatever. He was born a long time ago, many years before the letter J was invented. And there's one name you can call on for salvation. Now you can call on his name and get salvation, or you can skate in by doing what he says, even though you call him the Jesus. Okay? He'll show you the truth if you truly seek. And when I was a lying Christian preacher telling all kinds of lies way back 35, 38 years ago, I was a lying preacher. And I told people that even the Sabbath, oh, it's any day you want to keep. I told them all kinds of lies. But you check out that very last chapter in Revelations. Check out the very last chapter of Malachi, I believe it is. It's the very last book in the alleged Old Testament. And it'll tell you in the very last chapter, 4, it'll tell you down toward the very last verse, remember the law of Moses. And then in the very last chapter of the entire Holy Scriptures, Revelations 22, you look in there, read the whole chapter. In fact, read the whole Bible. They've got it on audio tape. But when you read the very last chapter, it tells you, blessed is he or she who keeps the commandments. They'll have right to the tree of life and enter into that city. But outside are dogs and whoremongers and sorcerers and those that loveth and maketh a lie. What's a lie? Oh, Santa's coming. Better get to bed. Oh, the Easter Bunny's coming. Rapture can come at any time. Those who loveth and maketh a lie. So you're either making a lie and or you're loving the lies that are made. Lies. It's a sad thing. But anyway, I just wanted you to know why I changed from churchianity and Christianity and all the other anities and isms. Now I am a son of the Most High and a brother to our King. I'm of the body of Messiah, and you should want to be as well. I'll help you. I'll do whatever I can to get you there. Just write me. I don't use the phone too often, but just write me. Let me know what you need to know about the Scriptures pertaining to salvation. And I'll show you what it says, whether you like it or don't. But that's my testimony. This is why I'm no longer of churchianity, but instead a body of our King, Yahshua Messiah, in these last days. And until you get a hold of me again, until I make another video, I say, Shalom.